10th to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take roll, Mary.
Murray? Getzinger?
Here.
Petter?
Yep.
Swacky here.
Approval of our minutes from July 13th.
Motion approved July 13th minutes as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Oh, apologize. A very minor, you wrote on the second page RFT, and it should be RFP, I believe, so.
Oh, I
I
can
mean,
change,
it's very
okay.
significant, so I apologize.
Thanks, Jim.
Our July 21st election commission meeting.
Motion approved July 21st election meeting minutes as presented.
Support. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And July 28th special meeting.
Motion approved July 28th special meeting minutes as presented.
Support. All in favor?
Aye. If I may, just real quick, just curious, is the 4 PM just because it was probably going to be a short meeting and it was kind of convenient at the end of the day, or?
Yeah, at the end of the shift, everybody was here at work.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Set and amend the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda as presented.
Support. Go ahead. Sarah Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda to work from. Bills.
The only comment I had, Mary, was a few of the items on the journalized list didn't have like a description, just had a number, and I wondered what that was for.
What were they for?
Like if I just picked one off under the fire budget, 206336 utilities, it just gave
Well,
like
it's just, it's utilities.
so is this like an account number?
Chief puts his PO number on there.
To work order.
It's 22-314 or whatever it is, right?
It's 052422-062222.
That's the month it is.
Oh, I
like
guess
May.
I didn't look
Yeah.
at that, that's a range.
Yeah,
I should
that's the
probably
range.
pick that up, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
But that'd be for electrical, gas, et
Like,
cetera.
yeah, gas,
Yeah, I
Semco
didn't-
Energy, all that. Yeah.
One was from the attorney, but that must have just been a shorthand for their monthly billing then?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. On the bills, I did take 2 bills off. I contacted Kathy from Finance. We had 2 bills for our share of the cost share for Powell Road.
Mhm.
So I asked her if we had to pay those. She said no, so I took those off of there.
Why did they send us a bill in the first place?
Well, we hadn't signed the agreement at that time.
Yeah, we got into that debate as to what communities would be obligated for what monies on the project. That special meeting took care of that. That doesn't mean there's special engineering or any additional. We have a cost share now worked out with the 3 communities in the county to pay the bill once. So we're not gonna pay half a dozen small bills. and start
Every
chipping
month,
away.
you're saying? I
Right.
gotcha.
We paid our portion, and so the county was able to secure that $1.6 million federal tip grant.
I'll make a motion to approve bills as presented. Previously paid fire, $63,474.37. Township, $116,369.83. Open invoices, $54,7915 for general fire, fire department. General is $18,502.79. Payroll, $99,473 for the fire, $29,903 for general. Tax disbursement, $664,581.43. Trust and agency, $1,850. Current open for trust and agency, $2,333, for a total of $1,001,967.32. Maureen?
Yes.
Swacky? Yes. Petter?
Yep.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Bills are paid. Public comments?
Monica Job. First of all, I would like to thank all the voters that came out to vote last week in the primary election. It was a very tight, close race. It was great catching up with Gail. having great conversation with Steve Arnold as well. Thank all the people that ran for office. Secondly, I have questions regarding that special meeting. It's great that it was convenient for all of you on the board, but you guys are public servants.
Not me.
It needed to be what is convenient for the public. And so I question having a special meeting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the board was voting to spend over $100,000 on Powell Road that was just a major portion of Armada Township to the village of Romeo. Next, the transfer site, it was open 4 days last month. Why was it closed on the second Saturday of the month? Reports that I heard was it was closed because the July 4th was a holiday. Anytime that it's on a holiday week, they postpone it to the following week. 4 times it was open, so I will be forwarding how much the transfer site costs the taxpayers for the month of July and how much Patrick got paid as the transfer site supervisor. The last Saturday that it was open, Patrick and Murray were out there right before a primary election. I would consider that campaigning at taxpayers' expense. Laugh all you want, Murray, you haven't been out there ever. So there's a big issue coming up on whether we close the transfer site and get one waste hauler. I mean, the perception is, are you guys doing this intentionally so that people vote for one waste hauler and then the public doesn't have an option and you have a monopoly of who's ever running that township? And also on that, if it is the case that it is moved due to a holiday, August, it's going to be the second and fourth Saturday, July, or September, it's scheduled out on your sign out there. Thank you for being proactive finally after the fact, but the 5th is on a Monday. That means the 10th is going to be the second Saturday, and you're going to run into that same situation again. And then it's open on December 31st on Christmas Eve. So I think you guys really need to start getting it together and figuring out what is really going on out in the community. And then last, Jim, I would like to thank you for voting no to spend $500 of taxpayers' money for a float in the fair parade. And I was told that the Historical Society had to go out for donations. You've got a business, you're always talking about your husband's business. I think you guys could have raised $500 instead of digging into the taxpayers' pockets. I really don't think you understand the people that are hurting out in your community. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Please, Kevin, come on.
Supervisor Patrick, members of board, Kevin Grand, Armada resident. Basically gonna be talking about the transfer site, not the topic, or not the questions from earlier, but this was a question regarding what was mentioned several months back. And the whole purpose about discussing the single waste hauler had to do with saving taxpayers' money. So my question is this: given the amount of work that's going into this, is that still the original goal, to save taxpayers' money, or is the goal to shut down the transfer site and go to a single waste hauler? Because I'm not seeing anything pertaining to what happens if we find out that these waste haulers are more expensive than the transfer site. Now, I would say you would be hard pressed to find anyone in this community that has any issue using the transfer site. You pull in there, you don't even have to open your door. Your vehicle's emptied in no time flat, you're out the door within seconds. So unless you have a very busy day, then you have a few minute wait. But other than that, you're in, you're out, no problem. I'm trying to see why we're trying to fix what's not broken. So that can be addressed at tonight's meeting, that would be appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence and information. I did receive a notice from the Department of Roads, construction and maintenance in Armada Township. The 2022 construction program for Armada Township is 33-mile road over the east branch of the Coon River, which is a bridge rehabilitation, and that's completed. Cape-Back Road from Pratt Road to County Line, asphalt overlay, anticipated August 15th completion. Powell Road from 32-mile road to south of 33-mile road, intersection, mill base repair and asphalt overlay, anticipated to start in August. Wolcott Road over the Tupper Brook Drain, large culvert replacement, fall of 2022 or spring of 2023, and that's because they're having a hard time getting the specialized box culvert built and delivered. 2022 pavement prevention programs: Armada Center Road from Fulton Street to east of True Road, asphalt preservation and resurfacing. 2022 limestone program: Romeo Plank from Pratt Road 1 mile south and 33-mile road from Paul Road to east 2 miles until the material runs out. The 2023 anticipated projects, below is a list of the projects anticipated to take place in Armada Township in 2023. Cape-Back Road from Irwin to Pratt, mill base repair and asphalt overlay, that's rural road, and Coon Creek over the Coon Creek Bridge replacement. Note the Macomb County Department of Roads consistently spends more than total funds received for maintaining the township roads. That we know all too well. Fire Department, Chief?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the month of July, we responded to 52 ambulance calls, 13 fire, totaling 65. We provided aid 3 times. Our average EMS response was 5 minutes and 51 seconds. Fire was 7 minutes and 7 seconds. Be advised on that, it seems like a high number, but that also includes when we respond to like Bruce Township and Ray Township, so that number's higher because of that. I also wanted to bring up, last Thursday, we had a pretty significant call. We had an elderly individual that drove into the ditch in front of the nursing home, and it required a swift water rescue, something we rarely see up here. In 25 years of working in a water community, I've never seen it. Here we have it in Armada Township. Led by Fire Marshal Cannell and C Shift, they did an amazing job, went above and beyond to rescue this individual. Nobody was injured, and they did a great job. And I want to thank them for that.
It was a surprise.
It definitely was. Any questions?
I do have a question regarding the upcoming millage in November.
Yes.
If I recall correctly, I think you stated that the .75 mill increase will fund 3 positions.
That is correct, and that's
Okay.
the goal.
I want to make sure I remember that correctly. So I think that'll be a huge asset to the community and staffing for calls and overlaps and future
Yeah, the
development.
100% goal of this increase is to increase staffing from 4 to 5 a day.
Okay. I just want to make sure I have my numbers right, so thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Ordinance report 77955 Cape-Back Road, outside storage, building material, shipping container. The attorney is handling this issue. As of this date, we did not get cooperative response from the property owner. 75700 North Avenue, possible fence ordinance. We're still waiting for an administration's review. Planner recommend admin review for our ordinance issue with how admin review is handled and what is the criteria the planner and planning commission is working to resolve this. They're trying to put something in place to provide an outline for administrative reviews. 21450 Boardman Road, chicken coop too close to the property line. I spoke with the property owner again. His chicken coop's placed within 50 feet. It's actually 27 feet off the property line. He's moved to 50. And again, he is supposed to be moving it. Planning Commission meeting was canceled. Our building department report for the month of July. Permits were issued for 1 deck, 2 ponds, 1 pole barn, 2 garages, 3 homes, 6 electrical, 6 mechanical, 1 plumbing, for a total of 21 permits issued, and there were 57 building inspections.
And I attached some of the documents, extra documents for the board, that shows you the fees that we collect, and the cost of construction, like for decks and pole barns and new homes. Just thought that might interest you.
Yeah, it was nice to see, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's nice that we can pull that stuff out, you
Right.
know? That BSNA is a lot of power to it.
Yeah.
Nothing from Macomb Ag, PDR, Parks and Recreation, Gary?
July Park report, we had Armada Fast Pitch Tryouts, 2-day pitching clinic hosted by the high school softball coach, ASEP T-ball for 3 days, 1 grad party, 1 birthday party, Armada Junior Tigers meeting. The June 30th water samples passed testing. They were never sent to the county, and they weren't sent to me. We had to call and find them. Cross excavating finished up the Tornado River area cleanup, and working ideas for the 2023 budget, park replacement. Did somebody authorize the DIA to put that painting in the park?
Yes,
Sir.
Who did that?
We
we
did.
did. By the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know where it's at by chance? Has anybody seen it?
I told them to put it by the restrooms.
How deep did it go?
I had Mystic out there,
They were out there?
yeah.
Because I guarantee that is right on top of the electrical line.
Oh, because I had sent them out there.
They didn't mark it though. I mean, okay, if Mystic was out, they usually
Okay, yeah,
put flags out
Yeah,
and they put a red line.
uh-huh.
But, I mean, I've had them out 6 times just for the free-walled memorial.
Okay,
And it goes right in front of that concrete for memorial and then right to the box, and I swear that pulls right on top of it.
I did send them out there.
Okay,
Yep, I did.
I don't know how deep that pull is, but I know that wire's not very deep.
We were required to,
Yeah, we're-
get Ms. Stig reports
Yeah,
for the DIA.
I got that for all the sites, yeah.
All right, I'm glad nobody got electrocuted.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the East Field lighting. Questions and concerns regarding the East Field lighting. Where do we want to start?
Well, there's a lot of places we can start. We got yesterday, a request to go out for bid on, was it,
BidNet,
BidNet
Didn't
yep,
through the fire department.
yes.
And, I'm not sure, after seeing what's been going out, that we've already had 2 addendums changed to the, quote process, and when the bids were due. I have this is a lighting specification, that was prepared for the Southfield. This was by Musco Lighting, that pretty much describes everything that needs to be done, as far as the quote goes. I'd like to see that included, with the request to go out to BidNet. We have several changes to the, quote that was already, put together, which include, concerns that were brought up by, Musco Lighting, which was the, height of the poles and how many we need, 4 instead of 6. And also the, warranty work, or the warranty on the equipment itself.
So you had a meeting with Musco?
No, I talked with, Jeff called me. Actually, he called with questions. I can send you the email where he highlighted the, concerns or questions he had about some
But
of the.
if a contractor's going to him for equipment, shouldn't the contractor be asking those questions?
Well, he's the one actually putting together the bid, specifications, lighting
But wouldn't the
specifications.
contractor ask him or give him the specifications that they want for the field?
Well, the contractors actually pick up the job through Musco. They actually do the,
No, Musco
Or
will
sup-
contract it out,
Yeah, they're a
Right.
supplier.
but then contractors will also go to them for the equipment.
exactly.
So wouldn't the contractor going to him for the equipment define what they want to do for the light?
The only questions I got from contractors was when is the bid opening gonna be due? It was supposed to be the 3rd, then it was the 15th.
It's the 15th.
It's still next Monday. And if we're going on a BidNet, how do you open up bids on the 15th?
I put out a bid net, that's what I was requested to do.
That's,
I wanna go back to the beginning. I don't even understand why we're doing this process. This really is a big waste of time. Do you really think a contractor's gonna come in here for a bid with a quote or a bid for less than $80,000? This is a waste of time for all these contractors. It's a waste of time for Musco. It's a waste of time for all of us to go out and get bids when the board can simply sit here and say, listen, we got a $130,000 job or $115,000 job. The township pays their $80,000 and ABA comes in and pays their $30,000. You know you're not gonna get a bid under $80,000. So I don't even know why you're going through this whole process. It seems like you're just trying to draw this process out.
Well, we still don't really actually have a quote from AV,
No,
from,
because they're in the
the
bid
contract-
process too. They'll have
Well-
it by the 15th. But what I'm saying is we're wasting a lot of time. We're stalling, and you're wasting a lot of people's time because you want to put it out on BidNet and you want to send out this RFP. When you could easily just say, we're going to go with this company. We're going to go with ABA and give them our $80,000 and we'll do it that way. So this is just a lot of wasted time to me. It really is. And it's easy enough for the board to say, you know, there's no way we're going to get a bid from any contractor for under $80,000. That doesn't even cover the cost of the equipment.
provided it's done correctly and all the,
It'll be done, it
all
can
the
be done
Ts are crossed
correctly.
and the Is are
Sure,
dotted.
sure.
Okay, I mean, we've already had, if you will, free sidewalks cost us $2,000-3,000. Where are the quotes, where are the figures that we've been asking for, saying, this is how much we're
You
gonna
got
charge?
a base quote at the beginning. He's not gonna put all these quotes together if you're not gonna move forward. We need to move forward. He's also on the RFP. He also got the RFP, and his date is the 15th. So we can look at the 15th. You're gonna look at all these quotes, and you're gonna look at the one, and it's gonna be much lower than the other, and say, why are we wasting our time? That's what I don't understand. We're not getting anything done here.
Well, we're making sure that it's done right, to
Yep.
boot.
That's
I
not,
mean,
that's not
the
what I'm
fact-
talking about. I'm not talking about being done right. I'm talking about getting a quote done and moving forward. That's why you have building inspectors and inspectors to check this stuff, to get it done right. You're right. That's correct. But you keep stalling and trying to push it off on something else. I've got 10 pages of email from you, John, where you've attacked me, degraded me, and demanded things from me. And you know what's not in here? One idea to move this along. Not one idea to move this along. You're wasting our time. You want to put lights up or not. We can get it done using Orchard Construction, and the volunteer contractors are willing to do this. But you don't want to do that. You want to extend the process out. I think you just don't want to do it. I don't like getting attacked in emails. I don't appreciate it, and you can put them all in my personnel file, and I hope you put it in his personnel file too. I don't appreciate it. I get paid $75 a week. You make over $1,000 a week doing this job, and you want me to go through all this crap and waste my time getting bids that aren't going to be useless, not going to be worth anything. So make some decisions here and let's move forward, okay? Can we do that? I'm not going to sit here and get beat up by a supervisor because I clean up garbage from a freaking park. I'm trying to get some lights in for some children.
The RFP,
Mark.
that's from Musco that you have there?
Yeah,
I had a call with Musco. He was not very friendly to me because he talked to you. He told me this was an illegitimate RFP and he had no right even doing it.
Then again, it
Did we
went-
get this, Jim?
what's that?
No, the only thing that I've seen is, didn't AVA get a budget figure from Musco a year ago or something?
3 years ago.
3 years
Yes,
ago?
when they
No,
quote all
it's
three
more
quotes.
recent than that. He has more recent.
So this is the RFP that they want to put out?
That,
Musco?
No, that's
Or
the-
what, this is
that-
what the lights, this is
That's
all
the
about the
job
lights?
specifications, that's
Okay.
what the contractors are supposed to do when
Okay.
they do the work.
So
he's
Jim,
saying that's an example of what he thinks should be incled in a bid spec? Is that what you're saying?
Big specification for sport lights on a field.
Certainly it's
So-
proprietary to Musco, I'd say.
No, it's not, he said we are more than willing to use it, he put it together, so everybody's quoting the same thing.
okay, so if like I said, Jim put some documents together, and I thank him for doing that, because we should move forward. We're either gonna do this or not. It's free to put this on BidNet, so if we give this to Jim, and he puts together an RFP, can he post it on BidNet? I mean, we don't approve what the fire department puts in an RFP, we approve what vendor we're gonna use. I mean, do you agree?
He's asking me or the supervisor?
Well, John,
She's asking you.
I think that is a summary of what should be done by these contractors to put the lights up properly, and everybody should bid that
okay, well, that's what I'm
process.
saying, if we give this
So, sorry,
to
two comments on
Jim
it.
to take care of, between him and Gary, they can
Yeah,
work on
I was
this,
gonna say,
and we
first,
post it on BidNet.
first off, I will admit that I tend to agree with Gary that most likely we're not gonna find a price that's better.
Not at all.
However, I also agree with Supervisor that as far as it being taxpayer money, there is a certain protocol we should follow. And we are trying, and I have helped Gary, just using my professional expertise to help him put together an RFP. So you're referencing me, but I had worked with Gary on that. It's not just me. It would be my opinion based on what the time this would come to the board would be, as our next meeting, must be September 14th. If we were to, I would say, sounds to me like the supervisor would support either doing an addendum or starting over. I would say more likely an addendum. Review that and see if there's a way to incorporate that into an RFP. Even, I understand your position. If we were to do that, the bid date could potentially be postponed until September
We're not
7th,
talking
which
about
would be
till next spring.
well, if you, I'm just saying, if you wanted to meet a September deadline.
Right.
And my assumption is that if the lights were gonna be able to be used for next year, that they would need to be installed this fall, thus the priority
Or
to
beginning of
try to
the-
get
yeah.
something in September. Now, also if we're hoping to get, if there's any chance of getting any donated labor, that's probably part of what I'm thinking now is, if it's not this year, that probably won't happen, and then now it will be a $250,000 project, and we've budgeted 80 grand, which is what Gary led into. So if we're only willing to spend 80 grand, there does need to be some creativity. I agree with the supervisor 100%, and it needs to be done proper, and certainly my interest in helping Gary, I don't think he'd be offended if I said that this is not what Gary does, and I have some knowledge in this, so that's why I was happy to help him. It wasn't me trying to do anything other than that. That if we, by putting this together, I could, in my opinion, I know it needs to be done properly. I'm certainly not gonna do anything that I intentionally believe is going to give an inferior product or somehow, I think the more bids, the better. Even if I do feel that's most likely the costs are gonna come in a certain way, I do think that to be above board, going this route and getting quotes, you need more than one. I mean, we should be getting as many as possible.
Couldn't we just add this information to and send it out,
Uh,
and it to the current
I
RFP?
personally
and then
wouldn't,
post it on
I
BidNet.
personally wouldn't post it on Musco. I wouldn't just scan that in and do it. I would be reviewing it, see if we agree with it first. I haven't seen it myself. I don't know if you've reviewed that or if you've seen that. You may not have seen that either. To see what it is, and I would review it and see if it looks appropriate and add in or create
Once again, doesn't the contractor go to Musco, and the contractor draws up the plan to put the lights in, so they put it together?
In a sense, yes. However, in this case, so you're right in that this is essentially a design build,
He
you know.
actually quoted the design, or he's got the design as well, the field
So,
lights.
This is,
positions.
Gary's right, this is a design build, so, well, I guess maybe said the opposite. In a sense, he's going to them to say, what do I need to meet this, what's in the RFP, which we attempted to identify foot candles, list everything that was important for a well-done project, and
The
let them
scope-
do the
The
design.
scope of the lights on the field, where
So,
it cuts off.
If,
Right.
if Musco quoted that, in theory, he should be able to give bidders a price, that information a price, and they should be able to submit. In my opinion, everything that's out there now would allow them to submit. However, it appears that there's been some other conversations, and Musco is hesitant to even submit a price, which would certainly limit competition if we're looking to get multiple
Why would
quotes.
they be looking?
Well, I think if Musco's being deterred from providing a price, then there's gonna be a lot of contractors who aren't gonna submit a bid. So unless either Musco agrees to submit something, do you disagree with that comment, or is that confusing?
So what you're saying, no,
I feel like the supervisor talked to Musco and is deterring him from submitting a bid.
yeah, absolutely.
not
So
gonna
if he's
pro-
deterred, if he's,
We never,
But
we
we
never
should-
talked
If he's
about
not
a
gonna
bid from
submit a
Musco.
bid,
Musco
then how's
doesn't
he
do
gonna
bids,
support
he
the other
sets up the
contractor?
project.
Okay, so this is what he dropped off
To
if
me,
he
if,
met him.
if this is
Right.
what it takes to get the supervisor's support on the project and the majority of the board, because right now, obviously the board has to approve anything. So if we as a board don't agree, can't get support for a project, no matter how much work you put into it, it doesn't pass, you know?
Which brings me back to the whole point at last month's meeting, again, when you modified the motion to include the soil borings, and the motion failed, the soil borings were done 2 days later.
I had nothing to do with that, so.
What do you mean?
I think,
We gotta,
didn't Chad ask you, when he was here, he asked if he got the soil borings done?
That
Could
was
you
in
move
one of
forward?
the very first meetings.
That was a
During the
while, that was a
budget
while ago,
meetings?
and
We
the
I don't
soil
understand why
borings
you would
needed to
motion
be done.
against the soil borings in the first place.
Well, they
If you
need
wanna
to-
move forward with the
don't-
light.
They need to be done to, for the
Design the
foundation.
footings.
Design the footings,
The
so they
boards.
had to be done.
there was a motion made and voted on by the board.
Right, and you voted not to even do the lighting.
Well, not to do
And-
the soil borings, correct.
Well, no, you voted not to approve the 50-foot poles. You voted no on all of it.
Well, that's because I was told by somebody that 70-foot poles are gonna reduce the
What,
glare
now
in the
your
kids' eyes.
timing's off, you can't say that, you talked to Musco this week. You can't say that you knew about 70-foot poles 2 months ago.
Well, the email he sent to me asked a question about the 50-foot
And it
poles. He
was-
couldn't get a hold of you, and he
And
couldn't
it
get a
was,
hold of
it was
Gary.
before June 8th?
Oh, yeah.
That's, the RFP went out when? Did the RFP go
Last
out?
week.
Yeah, in July. So you're saying you knew the pole, whatever. Now we're just pointing fingers, it's obviously.
That's fine,
How,
I got the
how, how
email.
tall are the poles we wanna put in?
50 foot.
50 foot.
50
When we
foot
went to
poles.
site plan.
Right,
and,
the
they
planning approved.
50 footers, you can go 35 footers or,
They approved it, and they
Maximum.
approved the visors on there, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
all of it, yeah.
And the lights for the neighbors,
it's already, there's foot candles.
Foot
It
candles
went
are
to the
low
Planning
enough.
commission, your planner looked at it, approved it, or your planning commission approved it, pending a building permit and engineering. Excuse me, I just ran here. And your, I believe we followed everything so far
Engineering.
you've asked for. I did ask to do the soil borings. Nobody told me that they were shot down. We had a specific conversation about that. I would not have proceeded without that. So that's why they were done.
Well, they're done,
50 foot.
and it's a benefit to anybody else right now, having that information.
And there is
They
no
need it, they
engineering
need
in
it.
your ordinances for light poles
Light poles,
to
yeah.
go to engineered site plan.
No, which is,
But there's engineering on the footing, which has been done, signed off by a professional engineer and approved by your planner, or your engineer, Taylor, I believe is her name?
Yeah,
She reviewed it and said everything was good.
I think she
So
said,
the, so
don't,
the building inspector is pretty much the next one in line if you guys were to approve the project.
yeah, I believe Taylor said that don't construe this as an approval, because she hadn't received the final site plan yet.
But she
she sent
she
a
got
letter.
changes were
There's
sent to
physical
her.
engineering on a structure, and then you've got
Yeah.
engineering for stormwater runoff, right, for a site plan? Those are two different things. Just because you say engineer does not mean they mean the same thing, right?
She asked for, she said she would, if I understood that correctly, it was expecting some sort of as-built
At the
or,
end, yeah.
at
They-
some
they'd have
point,
to
there
be-
should be a professional drawing, not just sketch, but she,
It was not sketched, it's a professional drawing.
Yeah,
It's
so-
signed off by Mark Simpson, who's a professional engineer. He's-
no, I mean, the locations of the site plan, I mean, the footings were approved by the engineer, even if there's other items that need to be approved by the engineer,
The
the
rest of
footings
the-
have been
The
approved by
rest
the
of their
engineer.
building inspection items.
Right.
The rest of it has nothing to do with anything else other than the building inspection.
Well, I mean, if the township wants, say, an as-built like they did for the
But
scoreboards,
an
Well, they have to have
an
as-built.
to have an as-built, you have to have something in place.
Yeah.
As-bills don't happen
Yeah.
without something
Yeah,
in place,
as-built
right?
follows up after completion.
Right.
I'm just saying that's what I think the engineer was referring to as, for a site plan.
Yeah, they don't give the permits, they don't approve stuff. But per the actual engineering, the physical ability for that pole to or that footing to withstand the pole and the ground, that passes everybody's inspection.
All right, so if Jim takes this and he reviews it with Gary, and can we we'll put that on bidnet?
This should be the scope, the light specifications used at the field.
If you guys go with Musco's specifications, why didn't we do this 6 months ago? And why don't we just say, Musco, come do the project?
We're not sure why it wasn't done 6 or 7 months ago. We still haven't got the original quotes to Gary.
Yes, you have. I gave you a budget number, and I'm prepared on the 15th to turn in a full prepared document, and I did turn one in earlier, and it was supposed to go to the lawyer last month to look at. I know there was 2 minor things or 3 minor things that we were looking at. I have no problem working with you guys, but it seems like every month, there's one more little engineer where they can throw in there. You guys, it's a really easy project. I'm gonna bring this up one time, and I want it to be publicly known. Last year, we did the scoreboards, right? It was a $35,000 project that the township paid $10,040 for, right? Everybody was on this board that was part of it. We went through site plan, we went through our engineering, we went through, building codes, okay?
There was a mixed up confusion on the electrical permit. One thought the other one called it in. It was taken care of, and it is completely finalized out. And there's never once been a building official item with those scoreboards. $35,000 project, done for $10,040 out of the taxpayers' money. To me, that seemed like a slam dunk, and you guys all agreed on it. We are doing the same thing here. We are not looking for anything else, no recognition, nothing. All we want to do is do something for the township. That's what we're looking to do. There's no one that's going to come close to our price. Please have them bid it. I really want to see it so we can all see how the value that's going to be here. But you guys, it's really, really an easy project. Your building inspector has all the confidence in the world and the ability to go ahead and approve this project because we've already done the other approvals. Through your township ordinances, we are where we need to be. Like I said, I did run.
Hard to catch your breath when you're
Yeah,
talking.
and then now, yeah, I think I've got adult-induced asthma. But,
Nope, that is good.
no, it's not good. But this stuff is taking forever. And I understand there's a slower process to it. But we've got guys that are licensed, insured contractors that want to do this work and do it way better. And not just cheaper, way better, because we care about this town, right?
Yep.
I care about this town from the bottom of my heart. Born, raised, went to college, came back, grown my family here. This is where we want to be. I have no reason to put up something shoddy over at that park. And if something did happen, I also carry builder's risk or insurance, right? We all have it. We have to provide it, but we can't do anything without you guys having our insurance, right? I'm not Joe Blow, a licensed contractor. There would be a licensed electrical contractor doing the same exact work. Musco subs out their their contractor work. The same thing that we would do. They sub it out. It's what they do. They build the stuff, they manufacture it, they ship it out, somebody else installs it, somebody else does the wiring. That's what happens. There's no difference. You want taller poles, we can get taller poles, it's gonna cost more money. It doesn't,
Yeah.
there's no added value. The foot candles.
Yeah, all we
run
care
further.
about is the foot candle.
Yeah, the foot candles is what
Yeah.
the issue is, and we are below the foot candles that you guys require as a township.
At the perimeter, but meeting
At the
the minimum on the field, yeah.
Yes,
All right, so if we
But it
post,
does make a difference for glare on the field of play. So the lower the lights are, the more you look into the lights when you make plays on the ball.
Yeah.
Two different schools of thought, I guess.
Sure, I mean, certainly AMVET's poles are, how tall are they? I'm sure less than 50 foot.
Yeah, I don't know what they.
Haven't had any
there's a
issues there.
photometric drawing. You guys don't have to worry about that.
The supervisor is saying that, because Musco had said this, if they're too low, picture headlight shining in your eyes, he's
But
saying.
planner-
Muscle sells lighting for,
I know.
that's their livelihood. They
I know.
sell lighting, and they are a big manufacturer, distributor of this stuff. They're looking out for their best interests. They're not looking out for the township's best interest, right? We can put up 70-foot poles, like I said, but there's no reason for it. If you guys want to spend more money, we can. We can spend a lot of money, but there's no reason to. The things that we can accomplish with those lights over there are not just baseball. We could have many, many community events over there. Concert in the Park could have a monster jam over there. Like, there's other things than baseball that we want that field. It's not just baseball. And we've gone through every step that needs to be done except for a building permit. In the way your ordinances are written. Everything's been followed. Building permit would be the next item if you guys approve the project, if you approve it.
all right, so we'll post that on BidNet and then we'll get the bids in September for the meeting?
Well,
Or you want to do the
I would say
August
there needs
15th?
to be some clarification so it doesn't come back as
Mhm.
incorrect. So, again, my opinion would be to have somebody meet, doesn't have to be me, review this to see, because I do agree with Chad, this is most likely, this certainly meets Musco's lighting, that's why they did it, they're not gonna spec something that they can't meet, and see if there's anything in here that should be in, because again, this is a design bid in a sense, if Musco wants to design it this way, but we don't necessarily need to list the controllers that they need to have and certain things that make it too complicated, allow them to present and they all get reviewed. And they could, they can present multiple options if they want. Here's option A, that's the cheapest, here's option B, that's the Cadillac. They certainly would have the ability to do, that's my opinion.
Right.
And so I would say this should be reviewed and an addendum should be prepared if there's anything that would need to be changed based on this. That addendum could include changing the bid date if there's more time available, because I honestly agree that it's a week. If it's gonna be posted tomorrow, then it's not even a week before they were due, so it wouldn't impact the date that it would be awarded, because to me, the soonest this project would be awarded is in September, because we're not prepared to award it today. So, given September date moving backwards, it would be my opinion that you look at this, if anything significant changes, or even if it doesn't, you issue an addendum to, because you're posting it on BidNet, to extend the date a week if that was the case, potentially change anything. Again, that's my opinion. If the board supports that, I'd be happy to work with Gary on that. Otherwise, leave it as it is and let Gary get his prices, and then we can review it then.
So
It's up to the board.
is Musco available? Can they provide this, what they propose, can they provide that and have it done this year? Or is this gonna be a 12-month, what's the lead time on this equipment that they have?
Currently, the RFP does not, does it
But they've got
list the
to have some sort of-
completion date? It might be the fiscal year.
Well, we found out
Not sure.
that Oxford, or whatever over there, they had issues getting lights,
Lake Orion.
halides, right? So metal halides were dropped and LEDs were brought in because
Right.
metal halides were impossible to get.
Correct.
Those other companies could provide
Sure.
them. We went right to LEDs. So they must have some sort of lead time. This other company, that the Evergreen Applied Technology we've been dealing with, they have an 8 to 12 week lead time on poles.
Yeah,
Lights are in stock. Well, 8 to 12 weeks from September is gonna put you at Christmas time.
Yeah, I know.
So they're not the only ones that are dealing with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's dealing with these steel shortages.
certainly that would be part of the review process if they say
I
it
would imagine
can't.
that's been talked about, though, there has to be some sort of lead time. Like, we've talked lead times, we have dates that have, things that have been guaranteed for. I'm sure Musco knows exactly what they're dealing with.
Sure. And I don't recall if there was a completion date on the,
And Musco's
No.
design was from last year. It was Conti that was 2 to 3 years ago, they provided a new one of $189,000 with 90-foot poles. And 90 foot is way different than 50, and it's way different than 70.
yeah. So is there kind of a consensus?
You do the addendum?
What, Sarah, John, do you guys
No
have an
problem.
opinion on?
Yeah, I'll get
I'd like to move
the,
along.
I'll get the field design to go with that and,
So
get it out to bid.
Okay.
We have to include it in, we have to include the, lighting specifications per se, so everybody's quoting to the same.
And
RFQ.
whose soil borings are they gonna use?
What's that?
Whose soil borings are they gonna use for, providing that quote?
the,
The ones that will
ABAs.
provide that ABA?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So everybody's more about the ABA's soil borings?
soil borings.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a little confused by what you said. Are you saying that you would like me to put something together, or are you saying that you are putting something together?
I can,
want to make sure.
I can give that, I'll sit down with Gary, and we'll get this to the fire chief to put on BidNet.
But I'm still confused, if that's from Musco.
I wouldn't support just posting this,
No,
because it says
if
Musco.
you got a contractor going and putting a bid together, I would think they would put that information together themselves,
For
working with
their bid
Musco or whoever
package,
their supplier.
Again,
Those are just lighting specifications, that's not a bid package.
this is
stuff's required.
submitted,
This is
But that's
what-
from Musco, right?
It's,
It
yeah,
is.
and it should be what's covered in your bid. That should make sure that all the things are done.
And that's already gone to your planner to look through on the lighting that we supplied, right?
Yeah,
They have the light supplies, they have the fixtures, they have the shields, they have the pole heights, they have all that too.
You have all that.
Yep, they've
The
got the
same thing
whole,
that they wanna provide, we've already.
the
provided.
field layout and everything, yep.
And we've done that too, right? But we've already done that, they're just coming to it a little bit later to the party, right?
so could, I mean, I would be happy to be involved if you guys want to meet, look through this and identify what potentially should be in there, and to do an addendum.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
I'll send you a copy, I'll
Send a
forward-
copy out,
All right.
I'll send it-
that's,
I'll forward
basically,
email
that
to you.
stuff's out of my league, I mean, I can't really,
And you guys, this
I'll read it over, but
I have no problem helping out, looking at stuff too. I have no problem with that. I wanna see the lights, I don't care about anything else, that's my main goal. So if you guys want something from me, or say, stay out of it, I'm good with that too.
Oh, I can forward the
Well,
information to you. It's
you would
not-
end up with that
Nothing wrong with
anyway.
having the information.
Yeah, but if you wanna help going through and saying, hey, this is good, that's bad.
Yeah,
this
what's
is
a good,
indifferent.
because to me, this needs to be reviewed to see if it's, because this most likely is a Cadillac version, I'm gonna say, like, they probably listed, but maybe not, it'd be nice, I certainly have to look through this, I'd like to look through
All
it.
right.
If
Well,
we
they've
can,
got all kinds of options.
Can
You know,
you-
when he came in that day, he told us about the different, underlights, for lighting up the ball in the air, and
when's the September meeting, the 14th?
even,
14th,
remote control on and off on your phone instead of opposed to having to
Yeah.
be there to flip the switch.
I don't think we need,
I'm just saying,
probably
you
costs
know,
more.
Lots of options.
it's all inclusive, you can do just about anything.
sure,
And you're right, Musco does everything from Michigan and Spartan Stadium all the way to Tiger Stadium. So, I mean, they do the bigger programs as well, that's what they
Evergreen
do.
did the Tampa Bay Rays, they did their field, and then they were bidding on the Arizona Cardinals package right now too.
Mhm.
So they are,
They're qualified as well,
They're-
yeah.
they're just as
Well, then could you just, for simplicity's sake, email, I don't care if you email the whole board on it, you know, to provide everything,
Oh, yeah,
but,
I'll
then
send it
I'd,
out.
I'd be happy
Let's move
to
it.
like, put my 2 cents worth in and then see, so we can,
I'll
Let's
look
get
it over.
moving, yeah.
I'll-
So do you wanna change the, due date then, for the bid?
uh,
I mean, we have
well,
the
if anything,
15th now.
if anything changes, in all honesty, if it should be posted on Mitten, or BidNet,
Been it.
Does it
then
have to be
it's-
under a certain amount of time?
well, to be realistically, expect somebody to respond. I know that Musco, I know that Evergreen certainly has already talked about it, and they may already have their information, but to realistically expect a contractor to look at it and go, oh, I need to call Musco, you know, they may be out of town for a couple, if it's only up there for 6 days or 5 days, then they realistically, they're gonna say, I don't have time to bid it, I didn't have enough time, so to me, it should be extended if you want it.
No, I have no
Yeah.
problem extending it, because the next,
I
the
would
September
extend
meeting
another-
until the 14th, so we got, almost a month.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
to me,
Over a
by the
month.
end of this week, hopefully, if we get this information tomorrow and can review it, and on Friday, issue an addendum with any changes and extend the bid date, that would be my opinion of what would happen,
Right.
what should
That'd be
happen.
perfect, yeah.
Extend to like the 31st? Or
Certainly we
before
can
that.
talk,
Or
if-
even, the meeting's not till the 14th, right, Mary?
14th, yes.
it
Yeah.
could be the
So
Wednesday,
even-
it could be the 7th, as
even
late
the
as the
7th,
7th.
Well, I'd like to,
But you need
like
time
to
to
see
You
it.
review
need time
it,
to put the bid
and meet
sheets
it by
together and look
Thursday-
at
by
everything,
the-
because if you get a lot of bids, it took Jason and I like,
I would say it should
3
be the
days
week
put
before the
together.
7th, so is that the 30th?
31st.
That allows a week to review bids and submit, if Gary is happy, to submit something for the agenda, before the agenda deadline.
make it September 31st then, or August 31st.
August 31st.
So that doesn't, because that doesn't, okay,
All right,
All right, I will send the email out,
thank you.
Good enough.
all right?
thank
Let's
you.
get this done.
Thanks, Gary. All right.
Tough crowd.
That it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No water and sewer information, nothing from the Home Orchard Trail. The July, month ending report, 3 bingos, average 18 attended, they had lots of fun, exercise every Wednesday, attendance down because of summer. 4 attended, a local lunch in Richmond, a new Thai restaurant, 20 attended, great food, good fun. DIA trip was wonderful, 18 attended. We will do this trip again in October. Our mystery trip took us to Lexington. The weather was perfect, and we ate at the Stone Lodge, excellent food and service. We then shopped in town at all the stores and treated ourselves to ice cream. 30 attended, our potluck, hot dogs, and all the fixins. A group of us were invited to the Allenton potluck for 10, attended and had a delicious lunch. Art class winds up our month, attendance low because of summer, only 5. Diana's an awesome teacher. There will not be a garage sale due to no interest. I would graciously like to thank you for refunding our trip money. I have rescheduled and call weekly to both places to make sure the bus and the boat is ready for us. Thank you again, sincerely, Donna. I think that's the right thing to do. Treasurer's report, please.
Okay, you have the summary and, the account sheets. Tax payments are coming in slowly. There's still a little over a month left before the due date, so I'm sure things will start picking up shortly. So far, we've received only about 10% of, the expectations. We did have a CD that matured on July 15th. I chose not to renew it. I wasn't real happy with the return that we got on it, so I have moved it over to Robinson Capital to be invested there. Next month, we should be seeing a summary, with that on the summary report. We'll see how it works out for us, and if it seems to be working well, I'll probably move some of the other investments over there also, but time will tell. I'm gonna take my time, make sure everything's going smoothly. We also changed all of our daily business accounts to public funds, which allows for higher interest yields for all the accounts. moved our Acumen investment account over to a money market fund, which also allows for higher yield interest. I went and spent the day at the transfer site on July 30th checking IDs, which was interesting and informative. I decided to go check the IDs due to all the craziness that had been happening on the different dates in July due to the 4th of July holiday. Just for everyone's information, these dates were set by GFL back when the contract was signed and effective and on the calendar from January 1st. People were assuming all kinds of things, everything from GFL forgot about us to rumors of the bill not being paid, so they didn't show up. None of that was true, and in fact, I already mentioned the calendar. I was dispelling rumors while I was there, as well as letting people know that the dates are also going to be different in November because of the Thanksgiving holiday. They will be in November on the 1st and 3rd Saturdays. And Monica, you're incorrect, they are the 2nd and 4th in December as well. For the most part,
Is there a way
it is
to,
Christmas Eve.
Is the fourth
But Chris-
Saturday.
Correct, but Christmas Eve is technically not a recognized holiday. That's the only reason I can assume it's there, but it is on the calendar. If anything changes, we will let you know, but we're going by the calendar that has been working well for us
I assume,
since January, except
Mo-
for July.
yeah, most people go second, fourth, and they don't even think,
Right.
so I don't know
Which
if
I
that
mean, I
calendar's better
totally understand,
posted.
but we're working, we're trying to figure this all out, make sure the communication is a little bit better.
And that's posted online also.
It's
and then-
also online, it's on the front page of the township website, we have copies in here.
Dates are posted on the fence?
They are, so there's,
Now,
like I said, we're working on it, it's a work in progress. For the most part, people were very receptive to having their IDs checked, said that it should have been happening all along.
They were. Very much so.
There were only a few people that gave me a hard time, but eventually showed their IDs, and I, did have to turn away a couple vehicles because they weren't Armada residents, so,
There were two, I think?
there were only two, yeah. One didn't, say anything, just kind of pulled away after they showed me their ID, and I, apologized and told them that they couldn't use the transfer site. Another vehicle said that, she lived in another community, has been coming here for years, and I said, well, those days are over, so sorry. I will continue to do ID checks for the foreseeable future, thinking of ways to speed up the process and make it easier. It did go smoothly, but it was something new, but this is taxpayer dollars, and I want to make sure that it is taxpayers that are using it. And not other communities, people in other communities. It's not fair to the Armada residents, so. And as you'll see from what's going on later on in the agenda, we've made some progress on the single waste hauler proposals. So that's moving forward. It's taken a bit longer than I anticipated, but we've made some good progress. We've all learned quite a bit through the process. The ordinance is on the agenda for tonight, and if passed by the board, we will vote on sending out an RFP. Depending on how that vote goes, will determine the next steps that the board may take. And that's it for me.
Okay.
Internet did not meet, there's nothing to go this time.
No, and we already placed the, cyber.
Yep, and in fact, Jason and I met with, well, actually, we had a phone call with Michelle from Solve IT, and we had a few questions. They sent us their contract.
I
and
know you
Ja-
guys made some modifications.
Yeah, we made some
but-
modifications on the backup services,
Right.
so, I'm waiting for Jason to review those that he requested, and then we'll send it to the attorney for review.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited to get some better tech in
Right.
there.
I'll
And
make
we
a-
have to- And we have to be able to share larger files. You can't send anything of any size through this server.
I'll make a motion to receive and file reports.
Report, oh, go ahead. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, reports are part of the record. Unfinished business, new business, waste collection and disposal ordinance, and request for bids.
As the treasurer was just mentioning, we've certainly been making progress on this discussion, this idea of a single waste hauler for residential waste collection. We previously, as a board, I think at 2 meetings, had had reviewed a draft ordinance, and we had put that aside. At the time, it was my understanding that we wouldn't actually adopt it until such time that we would award a contract, but since then, the attorney has clarified that it really should be adopted prior to going out, putting even RFP out, because otherwise I don't have the authority to do that. So that's in here. This is the same ordinance that was reviewed in March. That was the last time we looked at it. And then also, kind of tied to this item, is the bid proposal that the attorney has drafted for us to kind of talk about tonight, and if we can agree on it, then put that out for bid. So I have a lot of comments, but just briefly, because I know Kevin had made a few about the transfer site, and I like when people respond to my audience comments. I just wanted to clarify that the majority of the township already has curbside pickup. So if you consider their cost and the total cost as a whole, when we talk about saving money, we're talking about collectively saving the majority of residents money, I believe, by them not paying for the transfer site and curbside. That's where my intentions are. And certainly if all of the township used the transfer site, one, the cost would probably be significantly more, and two, it would not be as quick as it is for the people that use it now. That being said, I have some comments, but I'll let, if you guys have comments on the ordinance, or I think we should talk about them together, because I have some concerns. I'd like to talk about them as kind of as a whole.
I guess my question really becomes to because of the transfer site. In doing this, approving this ordinance, and sending out the request for bids, one, is there a way not to, because once you put the ordinance in place, you're saying we're going to a single waste hauler. So what is the mechanism in this to say, well, it's gonna be too much, we can't consider it, and two, does this put an end to the transfer site?
Those are good questions. First, the ordinance and this is very important to me as well, the ordinance states that if it actually says, this section does not prohibit an owner occupant of a single-family generation site from disposing of his or her own garbage by means other than utilizing a third-party waste hauler. So it's very important to me that if a resident does not want to have curbside pickup and they have other means, then they do not need to have curbside pickup. So one, that doesn't automatically mean the transfer site has to close. That doesn't mean that eventually the board may determine that, but that's not contingent. Awarding a single waste hauler contract does not automatically mean the transfer site has to be closed. And actually, this contract, if awarded, it costs the township, as far as the government, it's not like a cost to us. It's really just saving residents money who already utilize curbside pickup. So the assumption is that the cost would be less.
So are you saying clearly that residents that use the transfer site can opt out of the single waste hauler and continue to use the transfer site?
Yeah, so that's one question I kind of had. The ordinance says that to me, the bid specs aren't that clear on saying they're not clear on saying you're not required, but our attorney didn't feel, I guess it's necessary to specifically clarify that. The ordinance does clearly say that, though, that they're not required to sign up. So it does say that.
Right, if they have alternate means, which the transfer site could be an alternate
Yeah.
means. However, I think it's something that we need to take a look at, get these prices, see if it's something. Right now, people that live on the same street have the same waste hauler and they're paying different prices.
Yeah.
You know, so it's something that I wanna see. We're not gonna do anything till we see these prices. I mean, if these prices come in and they're ridiculous,
So here's,
then, you know, and
yeah, and related to that, one concern I had, one question I wanted to ask is, how hard is it to repeal an ordinance? Because here's why I ask. If we adopt this ordinance tonight, it goes into effect. I had asked our attorney, I said, well, what happens if prices don't come in? It's not worth the effort. They're either the same or more or barely less. Well, he says, well, you bid it again. And that wasn't a good answer to me. The reason I didn't want to adopt ordinance, and I supported the idea that I thought originally, which is we wouldn't adopt it it would be adopted concurrent with an award, would mean we don't have to adopt it. So how, can we simply repeal an ordinance? Because that would be my opinion. If bids don't come in
If
good,
we
I wouldn't be
can, because
rebidding it.
We can't go out for bid
Unless
without
we have
having
an
an
ordinance.
ordinance, because
Right.
nobody's
Yeah.
going to bid on it.
But we
without
can,
ordinance in
I
I
place.
just
believe
want
you can
clarification, it is
But that's what I'm
possible to
saying, is
repeal
once you
it.
put the ordinance in place, they're bidding on it because you're gonna go with the
Because
single
you're-
waste hauler.
Right,
You're not gonna turn around and say all of a sudden we're not gonna, or
Right.
they're not gonna spend the time on it again.
right, absolutely. I
Oh.
mean, I understand that, but I also want to see, I mean, I've gotten a lot of feedback on the survey, the old questions, the new question, what, you know, and most people are very interested in having a single waste hauler. There have been very, very, very few people that did not show an interest.
Yeah, most people
So-
believe there will be a cost savings. And they
Right,
say if
so
it saves
how
money.
much, I mean, how many people are using this transfer site on a regular basis as opposed to how many people are paying for it? You know, if there's only 100 people out of 3,300
It's
people,
like 10%, I think,
you
or
know,
maybe 20. Yeah.
so that's something that needs to be determined. If there's very few people using it compared to how many people are paying for it, I don't think that's fair to the community as a whole.
Sure, but that is definitely a separate issue from what we're doing here, because again,
Well,
they're
I know,
not.
but if we want to pursue this, and we've been working on this long enough, I think we need to finish,
When we're
see
done.
where this goes. We need to have an ordinance in place, or we're not going to be able to send out an RFP.
Right.
Yeah. Again, I hesitate to vote on the ordinance until we've discussed the specs. Is that okay if we kind of talk through and then vote on one and stuff at the end, or do you think we should, as a board?
Well, there'll be two, we can make two separate motions.
Yeah, but can we make them both at the end, or do we have to do that and do the one first?
Well, I'll do one right now. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number R202201 as presented and to publish accordingly.
Support for the purpose of discussion.
Okay, I'll also say one last comment I have on the, specific to the ordinance. The specs don't list hours. I know we talked at our meetings about hours of collection. The ordinance refers to a resolution by the board, so I assume we would just, the board at some point would, you know, make a formal resolution on date, day of the week and time that we would.
I don't think we can do that. Wouldn't they set the date that they're gonna come to our community and the time they pick
So-
up? They always ask that
Yeah.
you have your trash put out the night before, because sometimes they pick up at 7 AM, sometimes they pick up at 9 AM.
Yeah, I just know when we talked initially, there was a lot of concern on saying, what are the hours that we would allow? And we had settled on 7:30 AM to 7 PM that we would say, versus somebody coming by at 9 o'clock at night,
I don't, yeah.
I
I've
just
never
was bringing
seen
that
it
up
come
because
there.
it talked about here, it's maybe.
I think too that it needs to be clear to the public that this ordinance, although it's inclusive of the township, is not inclusive of the village.
Yep,
The village is not included in this single waste
Right,
hauler
they chose not to.
ordinance or request for
Right.
bid.
yeah, so we should clarify that. We've had multiple meetings, with the village, and the initial plan was, is there a value in working with the village, but they're definitely a separate municipality. It was ultimately decided that not only do they need their own ordinance, but it's really best for them to do everything on their own. And I've communicated with them. And one of my questions would be, if we settle on a specification, can we forward that to them for their reference? But I don't know where they're at in the process. I haven't heard from them.
And it's really, for
Yeah.
your information, Kevin, it doesn't not include the residents in the village. This ordinance is exclusive of the village.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sir?
Yes.
This is kind of news to me, I didn't realize this is going on. Who's paying for the single waste hauler? Would it be the residents or the town?
The single waste hauler would be paid by the residents.
The same as they do now if they utilize the single waste hauler.
Okay, if you close the transfer site? and
No,
move on to the single waste hauler?
As we were discussing, that's really a separate issue that this would not require the transfer site to be closed automatically, I mean.
You would still have the option, what Jim is saying, you can opt out of the single waste hauler contract and continue to use the transfer site.
Which I probably would, I can't put trash pickup or
I
I'm doing
just-
it all along.
Yeah, that's why I asked that question. It doesn't, if it's gonna close down a transfer site, people need to know that prior, so.
Any other comments or concerns with the ordinance?
I'll vote on it. Murray,
Yes.
Getzinger,
Yes.
Swack, yes, Parrot.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, and as far as the bid document, so the next step would be requesting proposals from waste haulers. Again, we met multiple times, we kind of put together a draft bid specs, and we talked to the attorney, and I suspected this might happen. It was easier for him to essentially start over, which I read them, they're, generally speaking, they're better anyway, you know, he had his own boilerplate, which he used.
Well, he's been doing this a long
the
time
downs-
for a lot of communities.
Yeah, the downside to that was all the meetings we've had, he recommended we talk to waste haulers, which we did, so we had a lot of meetings. I feel like it kind of didn't utilize, consider a lot of that, so a lot of my questions are related to things that I thought the board wanted, so those are questions that I'll have when we talk through this, where he kind of just said, oh, okay, here's my specs, which are good generally, but a few little things like the wheeled containers, in the bid spec, as a bid price and stuff like that. So again, if the others have questions, so I don't monopolize the time, I'll let you guys talk first.
I'm fine with it.
Okay,
We
so,
just have to put the dates in here and
yeah, so,
work on that.
certainly, let's start there then. Sarah, have you considered, for the,
Yeah, you can do
what-
September
what-
15th, just not the 14th.
September 15th? Okay, so bids due, and the bid opening and bids due would be September 15th. Okay, and then, how many single-family generation sites, there's a blank for, number of, households, so do we,
We
and do we, wa-
have, I'm gonna say like approximately 2,500.
parcels, didn't we decide that included, I thought we had a number of like 700 when we talked last, as far as single-family residential. Because that number, I believe, included the village,
There's more than that.
and it was vacant property.
That's more than-
So,
We can get
so
the
we need to
figure from
clarify
Tom.
that.
We'll
And
get that
so
from Tom.
the only question I have on that would be, should we, my assumption is we're gonna have people that wanna use the transfer site, and that was a concern with the waste hauler, so I would say we take off 20% so that we're not, or maybe 10%, we'll try to split the difference where we think we'll be in the total number, so that a contractor doesn't
It's
complain that
closer.
it was low,
Right.
lower. So if you could provide that. Okay,
Okay, so they're gonna be due, received by the 15th of September,
so then the anticipated award would be the October meeting?
October meeting.
Which would be the 14th.
14th.
Um,
I think that was it.
Again, a lot of my questions were little stuff. We talked about insurance limits and years of experience, but I assume you're okay with what Bob, 2 years' experience, his bid bond was 100,000, not a number of homes, so, or
No, there's a-
percentage. You're okay with all that, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
What about the pre-bid?
Yeah, what date for the pre-bid? So, if it's the 15th, I had originally was proposing to Sarah the 7th, is that bad? It gives them a
No, that's
week
fine.
to talk? Okay.
9/7?
Is this actual bid request in conflict with the actual ordinance? Because it does say, single-family generation sites are required to use the selected single waste hauler for the disposal of all mixed waste and recyclables.
Yeah, so that should be clarified, because it doesn't say if you choose to have curbside pickup, which
Right,
is what you're
and
saying.
there are currently approximately X number of homes. How can you determine that until people opt out?
So we would say, and does that maybe change that to, it's anticipated, something to that effect?
Well, it's gonna be hard to say,
It is.
2,000 homes or 1,500
Well-
homes, depending on
Right,
who opts out.
anticipated number.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so, but that's the best we can do.
Yeah, it's just, that's the first paragraph of the
Yeah,
bid.
you know what, I didn't even pick up on that as a concern, so that's a good point. Okay. I know there were a few references to yard waste, I assume can we just get those removed from there?
Yeah, no yard waste.
Okay,
Nobody in the township.
And
And,
they want recycling.
yep, I noticed that, I know that when we talked originally, there was some talk about penalties and stuff. There really isn't a type of penalty in here. It's just, if they don't perform, there's the bond. So we don't need to add anything about, if you're late, okay. Again, there are certain things we talked about, I think it's important to bring up. And so, we did have some language originally about businesses being allowed. Do you think it's important to,
No,
Claire?
because businesses,
okay.
they have their own,
And-
businesses are a whole
Well,
different scope.
actually,
Yeah, this
now
is
that
all
we're-
residential waste.
and now that we're talking anyway, the majority of the businesses are in the village that we were originally talking about, and they're not part of this anyway,
Right.
so, okay. Yeah,
Did we
We'll-
include like the senior center?
so when, then on the
and,
proposal
fire
form, I was
department,
gonna,
think?
Right.
so, yeah, originally, actually, last
can be
meeting, I
added.
kind of brought that up. Should we include an item where it just says the township will pay,
It could be separate.
but that'll be the cost? And do we need to clarify that it could be awarded to a different contractor, or is it expected to be the same contractor? Sorry, that's very convoluted.
Yeah.
There's two dumpsters, just two?
Just
Two dumpsters that the township pays for. Do we want to include, request a price for 2 yard, I think they're 2
With the
cubic
same-
yard dumpsters
I
in
believe
here?
there's three of them. We got two at the park, one at the senior center, one at the park, and one at the fire hall.
Where's the one at the park?
Oh, it's right across the street from the one. Yeah, there are two right kind of close to each other, on either side of the driveway.
Yep.
Oh, where we go?
So, yeah, do we need 3?
Thanks,
Oh.
chief.
And so, what I was trying to clarify was, is there,
I would put with the same color.
it's, okay, so it's really an all award. So if it ends up a little higher for the dumpsters to use one company, that's low for all the residential, then the township would still, I guess, my only concern was, what if somebody, there's only 3 of them, so that'd be very easy for the waste hauler to significantly inflate that cost, because it won't add a lot to his bottom line.
But
It'll be
this
taken
is
out of the
basically for residential, so I think if the dumpster cost tips it.
Well, the
and
fire
we're-
department and the park and the senior center are not residential.
Right.
So you think we
then
should keep it
can
out
include
altogether?
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I have no issues with that myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just contract it out to whoever.
Yeah. Just leave it like everybody else who has a dumpster, they call them.
Just
so-
leave it out there.
Yes.
All right, let's leave it that way. We talked about large item pickup. At one point it was, do we let them specify how many items? This really doesn't specify, it just lists everything.
They typically, the waste haulers are not gonna, they'll just pick it up. They know nobody wants this, if you redo your living room and get rid of all your furniture and buy only furniture, they know you don't want your couch and lazy boy in the front yard for 3 weeks until they can piece it out. They're
Yeah.
going to take it.
It does list, it says it excludes tree branches or logs a certain size. I don't know, okay, whatever, we'll leave that there. I don't know if it was confusing because of the yard waste, but now that I'm reading it, it's not. So under recyclable materials, it does say the materials will be placed in containers to be supplied by the contractor for that purpose. I know we've had discussions about wheeled carts, and the proposal doesn't specifically offer a price for anybody who would be interested in wheeled carts. Do we want to add that, or leave
I
that?
think we can just talk about that at the pre-bid.
But not, so what would we ask as far as, what are our expectations for the contractor? To supply those carts, or it's at their discretion if they think it's cheaper for them to supply everybody with a cart, then they might do that? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, they'll,
Okay, so not,
they're used to doing this. All these contractors do this all
because
the time. so-
what I was getting at is in the draft specs, we had a unit price for those who wanted a wheeled cart to purchase one. This doesn't, but we don't want to add that, okay.
It makes things more
Complicated.
difficult and unwieldy to quote.
Okay. Fuel surcharge, nothing, same, you don't wanna, okay.
No, everybody and their brother's charging a fuel surcharge right now.
Okay, well, that's all I really had as far as concerns.
You'll
Uh,
take these changes to Bob?
Yeah, really the only changes that have to do with the dates, and then a clarification at the front about not being required, and that's not every resident. So you guys will provide that number, and we'll get all that to Bob and ask how to word that on the cover page,
All right.
assuming this is approved.
And how we're gonna determine the approximate number of homes.
Yeah. Actually, one last question I had was, as far as posting this, would it be on BidNet and in the paper, I assume? And
I
then,
would, I would think.
so then, the way the specs are, there's not really an advertisement, a traditional advertisement? Would you just like find the information in there, or do you want there to be a traditional kind of advertisement that, for what you would put in the paper?
I think too, we have like 4 major carriers in
Yeah,
southeast Michigan. It'd be best even just to mail them the bid package.
to make sure that they get it, or email it to them. Certainly, we've met with Priority and GFL,
Yep.
Mm.
we have their contact info, and I know they're interested, so. But again, as far as the paper, I was thinking, do you need something more than what's in here? I don't know how you would publish this.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I've used Macomb Daily on that, and nobody reads the record.
Yeah.
I think BidNet's the best way to go. They all
Certainly
look on
BidNet. Do
there.
we need to put it in
Yeah.
the paper?
I wouldn't put it in the
Is-
paper. I think
So then we'll
BidNet
just
is
put
the
this
best.
whole thing on
Is Mitten,
BidNet.
It's the same thing. They changed it
Mitten,
from
it
Mitten
changed
to
to
BidNet.
BidNet, yeah, it took me
Yeah.
2 years.
I don't think anybody's gonna look in the newspaper for a waste hauler,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
BidNet is.
So once this is approved,
Yeah, and they get alerts, because they
Yep.
sign up for it.
for sure.
Right. Okay. So how do we,
We actually talked
how
before
do we
the
move
motion on
forward
that.
with the bid process? If we're changing the actual bid language, do we get back together for a special meeting in a week, or?
Could it be just by email with, because it's really just
Uh,
dates, numbers, and
That's pretty sketchy.
okay.
Just come
Okay.
back,
We really need to call a meeting, I think.
just so we get it right.
That's fine.
Yeah, so we'll
So
hold
once
off.
it's done, we'll schedule
hold
for
off
like
on
the
that,
next
and then
day or
we'll-
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably 4 o'clock.
Could we do it 7?
Beat you
'Cause-
to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have to leave work early anyway. The 4 doesn't work for me personally. Either. Okay, I agree with that. And we didn't actually make a motion. I apologize, I talked to before
No.
we made more. So do we not make a motion? We're gonna make these changes and then do it?
We'll make the changes and
Okay.
then come back and vote on it.
So table the bid specs
Yeah.
for now. So I'll make a motion to table the bid specs until they're altered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Come back to that. BSNA training, Mayor?
All right, I contacted BSNA to see how much they would charge for training for the building module. And it's for 2 days, it's $1,000. That would include permits, certificates, enforcements, projects, planning and zoning, bonds and letters. We already have the planning module with building, but it's not enacted. So they're gonna come out and enable that. And that's gonna be we're gonna be able to track projects much better. There's like pre-construction dates you can put in there, engineering, all of that.
Hmm.
So there's so much more that we can do with the building. It's
Mhm.
gonna be great to have this
Well, I
So
know
thi-
Chris has opened up many horizons already
Yeah.
over there.
So this is for training?
training for building.
Okay, and obviously we're in a transition, which is an item
Yeah.
later, but
Well,
you're
yeah.
saying for the staff that are working on it now, or is it, you
Well,
also
we're-
said modules, so are we purchasing more from BSNA as
No,
far as-
no, it's no more purchase.
It's really
It's
just-
just
it is
more
just
training
training.
to
Okay.
dig deeper into the
This,
building module.
the software exists, we just
Yeah.
haven't been trained how to use it. How to
Gotcha.
get to it. Now that Chris is diving down deep into this, software program, there's more information that she needs to understand and be taught, so she
Ah.
can put it all together.
Gotcha.
I will make a motion to approve 2 days of training at a cost of $2,000 with BSNA.
Support.
And,
Marie?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
I waited. And you think that given where we're at with hiring, it's urgent enough, we should do this before we potentially hire a new employee versus waiting?
Chris has done a lot of work in there. She's made great headway, and she's putting together a handbook, basically. So she'll be able to, the handbook is pretty much all put together.
And
as it
she's
is
also
anyway.
customizing the permits and
Right,
documentations that we go through, so, I mean, even payroll, you know, she runs payroll out of the computer now, there's no more.
So training now
Right.
is, would still be benefit to a new employee
Well,
later?
in fact,
because
we're
of-
gonna interview someone tomorrow too, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if Chris picks it up, as
Yeah.
long as it's, you know,
So
Chris is
she can
there to
train.
help keep her in the
Train and
next,
stuff.
you know, and again,
Okay.
we're looking at somebody for both positions, I still think we need to look for a second person as well, so we just have somebody else on the, just in case we don't end up in this situation again, here we are.
Well,
So,
it's working, sounds like it's working well with Chris.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
she's
And that
doing a
is-
phenomenal job over there.
And I'll sit on this too.
all right, go ahead, Mary.
Murray,
Yes.
Swikey, yes, Getzinger,
Yes.
Herrick,
Yep.
And BSNA does great trainings.
they do.
Election inspector wages.
Right, my inspectors haven't had a raise in about 3 years, and I'm asking the board to increase the wage from $10 to $12 an hour, with an additional $25 for the receiving board and a precinct chair, and an additional $50 for the precinct chairs.
For the election chair.
Yeah.
So that's like a stipend or lump sum per day, per election, I mean,
Well,
which is per day, but
what do you mean?
what's
Lump sum.
25 and 50?
That's for the, like, the receiving board has to bring all the materials back to the township hall,
We do the counting.
and they go through each packet that the election inspectors have put together to make sure that all the paperwork is correct.
So they get,
And
so it says
they-
an extra, so what do
they'll
they
get an
get
extra.
paid now?
Well, they get paid $10 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't currently receive any, the extra 25, they
Well,
don't
they
receive
do, but
something?
I'm just reiterating that.
So what you're saying is you
Oh,
wanna give
okay.
them $25 over and above the 12 you're
$12 an
proposing.
hour, right.
Or $50 over the
Right.
proposed $12.
Exactly,
One-time cost, not,
right, no,
you know,
no,
not $50 an hour.
yeah, no,
Right,
not
that
at all,
makes sense.
no. So I'll make a motion to, increase the inspector wage from $10 to $12 an hour, plus an additional $25 for that day for the receiving board, and $25 a day for the precinct co-chairs, and additional $50 for that day for the precinct chair.
Support.
And how many, just so that's clear, how many precinct co-chairs and chairs and,
There's just one chair, one co-chair in each precinct.
and then what
So
about the
there's 6
receiving board
altogether. Receiving board, there's 2 people.
In each precinct.
at each?
No, just,
One at
there's,
each?
there's just, we have a Republican and Democrat, one from each precinct.
Okay.
Apologize,
That's how we do
I'm
that.
not an expert on the election.
Yeah, I didn't know if
so-
we had a Democrat and Republican from
Yeah.
each precinct.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. We have to.
But from each precinct, so there's
Yes.
4.
No, just 2.
Just
One,
2.
one from each. We'll take a Republican from one and a Democrat from one precinct, and they'll come over.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that are gonna bring actually all the materials back, all the DS 200 and everything like that,
Right.
so, yeah. Marie?
Yes.
Like, yes, Getzner?
Yes.
Herrick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Interview committee for building planning applicants.
Yep.
Mary and I would like to sit on that. I'd like to include Mel and Chris Martin on that committee.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Supervisor Patrick, Clerk Swaggy, Building Inspector Melvin Nutt, and Chris Martin to the committee.
I'll support that.
So you have received applications, obviously, because you have
Yeah.
one applicant and your, okay, your intention's to interview tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that, okay.
That and kind of put together a committee, so if we get other ones, we have a committee set up to
Right.
talk to them.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Swaggy, yes, Murray?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yep. Okay. Annual assessing contract. Here's our guy, Tom. Mr. Consistent, I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
really. In accordance with provision number 10 of the service contract between Sanilac Appraisers, Inc. and the Township of Armada, I am providing notice of the company's intent to increase fees as allowed by the term of our contract. Subject to board approval, the contract agreement does not specify an amount of increase, only that there shall be an annual increase as approved by the board. With company's cost increasing each year, the company seeks to maintain a modest level of increase comparable to the inflation rate increase. the inflation rate has increased substantially since last October. The company is proposing a 6% fee increase. The contract revision would become effective for the coming contract year after the expiration of the existing contract on October 15th of 2022. The proposed annual fee increase for this year of service is 6%. That rate of increase, rounded to the nearest hundred, will change monthly fee payments from $3,391 to $3,600. No change to the contract is proposed except for fee increases.
Make a motion to approve the assessing contract from Sanilac Appraisers, Inc. as presented with a 6% increase from $3,391 to $3,600, effective October 15th, 2022.
Support.
I like Tom, and he does a good job.
He does a really good job.
But just so I understand fully, or remind me anyway, company costs, what are we paying? Does he have any expenses other than its labor? Is he part of his fee paying for any materials or?
I know he does have gas mileage, and he has to maintain his office at home. I know he works from home, and he also has an employee. He brings in his.
We don't he
his
doesn't
daughter,
charge us
so.
any extra for that, so.
That's what I mean,
It's
he
all-
pays
it's
her
all
out of
in
his
his
pocket, so his granddaughter comes in,
Yeah.
and does work here, especially with switching over the,
The sketches.
to electronic files. So he pays her out of his pocket. Or actually, she's compensated by Sanilac
Sanilac
Appraisers,
Appraisers.
the employer, he doesn't pay her out of his pocket.
Right?
Yes.
Swag, yes, Getzinger?
Yes.
Eric?
Thank you for your hard work, Tom. He's one of the most consistent, reliable guys we know, really.
I hear so many things, good words about him and how great he is, and I will look for that.
He's very, very consistent and incredibly fair. That's all you can really ask for. Allocate fiscal year '23 smart municipal and community credits. Mayor?
Yep, the new contract is for $3,401 in municipal credits and $10,040 in community credit funds, totaling $13,441 available for fiscal year '23. I have proposed for municipal credits, 1,000 transfer to Richmond Lennox. We did that last year. Armada Seniors, 2,401. That's the total of municipal credits, is 3,401. Community credits, Pale, I suggested 4,770. The seniors, 4,770. ASEP, 500. And ASEP, 500, they have 500 from last year, and they usually only use one bus, so I'm expecting the bus will probably be about $1,000 now. So I put that,
ASEP
500.
can only use one bus?
They only go on one trip.
Okay.
They don't, and sometimes they don't go at all, so
Right.
we try and keep their money if we can. They spent some of it the year before last, and then they still have some left. So the total community credits is 10,040. So I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year '23 smart funds as presented. Marie?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Swike, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
And then with that, we also have to approve a resolution for the transfer of the $1,000 to Richmond Lennox. So I'll make a motion to approve, resolution number 202206 as presented.
Support.
Marie?
Yes.
Eric?
Yep.
Swike, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Community transport is important. Okay. Trustee Getzinger?
Just reiterate that it's important to communicate. I think a lot of the problems we have here are communication. So certainly in person or on the phone is probably the best approach. But just reminding us all, we can all get better at that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer Murray?
I have nothing further, thanks.
Clerk Swayaki?
I contacted Taylor last week. When I went to the senior center to set up for the election, I noticed that the parking lot was like cracked, a lot of cracks and stuff like that. So she's gonna go out on Friday and take a look to see if, and it doesn't need to resurface or anything, but to.
Correct.
Taylor,
seal.
Taylor Reynolds?
Yes,
Okay.
Taylor, yeah. She has a job in Washington, so she's gonna pop over here,
Right.
to see what needs to be done to repair that, so it doesn't get any bigger and we have a hole that you can fall into. And then she's gonna let us know how to proceed. I even asked Taylor, if they would write up an RFP, should we need that, they do that as well.
Can't we,
So,
can't we get rubber duckies for that too?
I know, yeah,
Sure.
Like the driveway?
eventually. So, but I did talk to Taylor, I just saw that last week, and she called me today and said she'd be going out on Friday, so I just don't want it to get cracked.
It's just a lot of
anymore.
cracks, like a crack ceiling you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, you know, and if the water sits in there, it'll just
Might-
get even worse, it'll end up like the hole out
Yeah.
there.
It's a small enough project.
And we have seniors going there, so.
There's a few contractors that just do that, maybe you can get quotes versus even a
Yeah.
formal RFP.
Well,
But
I
that's
thought
a good
formal
preventative
RFP would be
maintenance
better
then.
from, coming from our engineer, and they would
Mm.
handle all that. They'd handle all
Okay.
the bid specs, and they would handle the, opening of the bids.
Yep, they did the dumpster enclosure over there too.
Right, and they did this, the senior center parking lot
Right.
as well. It wasn't done in 2015,
Right.
so, that's all.
And then, I would, reiterate, I did appreciate, going to the transfer site and carding the folks, last time the site was open. I think we learned a lot. Most people were receptive, but I think people are, you need to know the intricacies of the single waste haulers and opposed to their options for the transfer site. That needs to be made clear to the public, so. But after saying that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:31.
Into
Do
closed
we
session.
have closed session?
Into closed session.
Well, we entered
We don't
closed
adjourn the
session.
meeting, we
Okay.
don't adjourn the
All right.
meeting yet, so,
Got it, right. Okay, I will make a motion to close our public portion of the meeting so we can move into closed session.
at 8:31.
I thought I adjourned and opened up the closed session.
No. Oh, Swack, yes, Murray?
Yes.
Hedrick?
Yep.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank everybody for coming very much.
You will let us know when you're back for the, after the closed session?
Sure, we'll,
correct?
yep, open the door.
They're on.
Keep recording, so they stay recording.
They stay
till we're
recording.
done.
Okay, so they're recording you doing your thing, but we have to leave the room.
We're gonna go,
We're just, you don't have to leave, we're just gonna go in the office.
Okay.
We can do that too? Is that all right? Yeah,
I guess that's what I thought.
We did last time.
Okay.
come back in. Are they coming in? Okay. Me too.
Yeah, we don't have to. We will.
Okay, I'd like to, make a motion to come out of closed session.
Support,
What time is
All in
it?
favor?
8:43.
Aye.
8:43. All right. I will make a motion to offer $220,000 for 75020 North Avenue for the purpose of securing land for a new township hall and to contact Susan DeMille of Properties Unlimited to write up a purchase agreement and to have supervisor and clerk sign forms as necessary.
Support.
Swack, yes. Murray?
Yes.
Getzinger?
No.
Patrick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Then we'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:44.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And don't everybody forget,